I can do it. Yeah. Do it publicly, it comes out wrong. So,
I don't want you to feel slighted.
I'll amen you all day,
All
but I ain't gonna.
That's the excuse I hadn't heard
I will
yet.
tell you.
I'm telling you, it'll come out wrong.
I will tell you this. I was in church, and it's been 10, 12 years ago. The guy leading the songs at our church, I turned around and said, "This is a new lady." And I said, "Will you dedicate the offering?" I said, "Dang, I've never prayed for you. He said, "You can do it." I said, "I'd rather not." And so he did. I want me for the next week. And I went to him the next Sunday and I said, "I will never say no to that invitation ever again." And I'm not.
Yeah.
And I'm not.
Flip it up.
Got it.
John Ferguson
Yep,
is
that's
on there.
Thank you.
He taught me in and being on it. And he can hide. You know what they can do? You can hide.
That's my reminder of the meeting going on.
Takes his time, but anyway, he's meeting every Tuesday night. And since October, they're trying to select.
What did you say?
Ooh. He makes everybody say a prayer individually.
Well, you're not there yet.
Oh, there? I said, that's weird. Let's say one prayer. Read one scripture, right? Sing one song. He likes, he's a teacher.
Yeah, he's. I'm not gonna
Oh, okay. He still see all his children.
Yep.
I'm in.
Yes. I'm gonna tell you what, me and this table leg,
Yeah.
that chair leg keeps hitting me.
I'm sorry. I don't know when I've seen him. I've called him a couple of times to ask him to do a couple of things. He said, "Well, I'm not gonna be in touch with you."
Yeah, well, he's telling you the truth.
That's what I didn't know he was here.
No,
Is
Right.
still living in the house?
No, he and Jessica bought the house.
Okay, good.
There you go. She'll say she got that. Oh, yeah. All that stuff down there in Georgia.
Everybody here tonight?
Well, is anybody living? I guess I get Jerry Bill up there. Cause it looks like somebody was working on it. Who were up there?
Oh, they got a bathroom renovation done. Well, if they get up there, come by and say that.
We just.
Oh, we're talking like a full car. We're shooting and painting the front porch.
20 seconds.
Oh, really? Wait.
I said we got 17 seconds. Somebody give a countdown.
Yeah, just to try it.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this March meeting of the Scotland County Board of Commissioners. At this time, I would like to call on Commissioner John Alford for our invocation.
If you would, you could bow with me. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you now for the beauty of this day and all of the blessing that you have blessed us with. Where you'll guide us tonight on this board, that we will have the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to do the proper thing for all of your people. And we ask your blessings upon those who are here, who have taken the time out to show an interest and a concern for their communities. We ask that you continue to bless us and lead us. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. You'd stand with me as we pledge allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
In this thing.
Again, we do welcome all of y'all for being with us tonight. We have in front of us, commissioners, you have in front of you the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
So moved by Commissioner Alford, and second by Commissioner McCall. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Thank you very much. Now time for our public forum. This is the time where citizens can come before us to express concerns that they may have. Mr. Robinson, do we have anyone signed up for that?
I do not.
Is there anyone here who has not signed up but would like to address the commissioners?
we will then close that portion of our program. We will move to, I don't see Brian Graham with us. Is Brian with us? He is not. We have an award that we were going to present to Parks and Recreation, an Excellent and Innovation Award. I think I will postpone that till sometime when Mr. Graham is present with us. The consent agenda is in front of us. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion approved consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Ivy and a second by Commissioner Goldston. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Zoning ordinance update. Mr. Johnston.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Just briefly, the Planning and Zoning Board had intended to have completion of all proposed amendments to the zoning and subdivision regulations to this board. One component was a little more difficult for them to complete, that being the subdivision regulations. They have another meeting scheduled for Wednesday night of this week to complete that. But those things should be, I think, ready by the 22nd. Kevin, is that when you have a schedule? You should have not only the zoning ordinance update, but the proposals as regards the subdivision regulations.
I know that the chairman of that committee, James McMillan, has met with our county manager. They have made some suggestions to the Council of Governments on some changes of those proposed ordinances, and I think they're supposed to have those back for review by their meeting Wednesday night this week. They are being very diligent in what they want to suggest to the board for our approval, and we look forward to hearing from them. Anything else, sir? Okay. April Sneed. In regard to.
Good evening. You all asked me to come back with some additional information after your retreat about 2 weeks ago. So I'm back, and I'm here on behalf of the social work units in especially child welfare at social services. I want to recognize that some of our staff are here. Wendy Stanton, our program administrator for all social work at DSS, is here, and 2 of our child welfare supervisors, April Martin and Stephanie Crummy, are with us. They supervise foster care right now at social services. So what I gave you was more information. I updated what I gave you at the retreat. And so you can see what I gave you, the changes were highlighted in blue. So one of the first changes that since your retreat, we've had another resignation in the child welfare unit. And I'm expecting more within the next week. There's no doubt there's probably 3 more coming in the next week. So that of course, our retention rate is going down in that unit, and our turnover rate is going up to match or surpass the last 2 fiscal years in the unit. I also provided you with what it's costing our county when we have these vacancies. When we have vacancies in the unit, we have to call on contract companies who contract social workers who are already trained to do child welfare work and meet the state requirements for that. And to get those contract workers, it costs us pretty dearly. So where one of our social workers may make $20 an hour, a contract social worker, you're going to pay $35. So you're paying $15 extra an hour for every hour these contract workers come in and work. And so over the last 3 fiscal years so far, you spent $103,000 on that. Again, that's not paying anybody that works for Scotland County. That's paying extra people that have to come in simply to hold the workload while we are hiring for vacancies. This year, we've already spent $40,000, and I have 2 contract staff that are having to come in right now because of my vacancies in child welfare.
When you say year, you're talking about from
July to
July.
today.
Okay.
We spent $40,000 in contract staff. And like I said, we have 2. One started last week, and we have another that will start this week. because someone has to do the work in child welfare. Otherwise, what I updated on here, you also wanted to know about comp time. And so with the help of the finance department, with the county, it will take about $9,500 to pay down the social work staff that have over 40 hours of comp time, to pay them down to 40 hours. And you specifically wanted to know that. So that's the additional information I have for you tonight. Of course, I'll be glad to answer questions. But we got an issue, especially in child welfare. It's just we're at a tough time. We're having to pick priority over what work gets done and what work might not get done. Safety is always first. Our children will be seen, and we will make sure that they have their well-being needs met. And then after that, we have to start choosing what state policy we can get done and what we can't. And that's just honest. We ask our state rep, what do we do? And her advice is, we'll find people to hire. I get it, right? I get that. This isn't just Scotland County's issue. We know that it's across the state, it's across the nation. Retention in child welfare is a problem. And so at some point we have to become competitive in the market, I guess, like any other position might. So again, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
You have a number? You know I'm going to ask for the number.
A number
As
for,
in, if what we do, and I know you've got the other, but what you're hoping would be the salary rate and the bonuses and all, a dollar amount of what you're asking for.
so
A rough number. I'm not looking for exact.
I would hope to bring our social workers competitive to surrounding counties, right? Because that's who we're competing with. We're competing with counties that they can drive to and make substantially more. Richmond County is clearly the highest in our surrounding area. Their social workers are making between $8,000 and $10,000 more than we are. Of course, that they're doing that bonus system with their social workers as well. It's hard for me to give you a number.
Well, how many are you talking about? How many people?
Social work staff we have? We have about 20 social work staff.
If you're fully, I'm not.
About 20 positions.
So if you went to a median number between them all, and let's just throw that at 47. So you're talking about 3,500 times 20. So about 80,000 a year time you do the benefits and all in there. Roughly, I'm guessing, and that doesn't count if you do some sort of bonus. But I'm just trying to put a number on it.
I
as
understand.
to what it is. So
It's complex too, because all our social workers are making different salaries, and that's the way they're classified. With very little experience, you come in as a social worker 1 or 2, and you're only going to make around $32,000 a year. If you stay 3 years, we can get you up to now where we fall at about 42 to top out what our social workers are making. So it's all relative to where they are being paid right now as well. What we've done in the past, I believe we did this 5 or 6 years ago, and you gave a percentage across the board. And then county personnel, Ms. Butler, we look at where they would fall in the new grade structure. And so clearly, you know how your pay scale works. You just take and boom, and they all do like that on the pay scale based on what grade they're in. And they're all in different grades because they all have different levels of experience. Some counties choose to say, your experience we aren't going to take that into account so much. You're all doing the same job and we're all paying you the same thing. We're paying you all the same thing. Some counties choose to take that approach. That's really just an opinion on how you want to.
Mr. Chairman, whatever we decide to do as it relates to our salaries, I would think we're going to do it for all departments, whatever we decide to do, whatever step. We can't do it all at one time, because what's got us in this dilemma over the past many years, we didn't even give our people the cost of living increase. And for us to just maintain, we first have to do that, start giving the, and then we'll add on, I would think. But when you go to each department, it wouldn't be without raising the taxes, we couldn't. That's
Well,
my
that's
opinion.
kind of what this salary study did. But to me, I think we did it backwards. If we got a high turnover rate in a couple of departments here,
Mhm.
those probably should have been the ones we did first rather than the ones we don't have the high turnover in.
But also
You
gotta
follow
work.
me?
Politically, that won't work.
Well, drop the politics, but you know what I mean.
I got you. I follow you.
So if you did that, and I'm not just sitting the motion, you're talking about the 20 folks, right? And you did a 10%, 10.5% increase across the board. You're roughly talking about $85,000 plus the extra little bit in benefit and whatnot. So probably be about $90,000 a year is what it would take. And that's based on that number of 20 that you just said. So those are rough numbers.
At April, is your turnover based, in your belief, primarily on monetary compensation?
I wouldn't have said that 3 years ago. We talked about this at the retreat a little bit. I will begin to say it now because 3 years ago we dug deep. And that's something that Commissioner Gibson mentioned. He said, well, what's going on internally? Are you doing exit interviews? Are you looking at why are people leaving? We do. We do an exit interview for everybody that's willing that walks out the door. And so 3 years ago, we heard things about training. We need better training. And so we devised our own training model for the social work units. And that gets very complex, but there's a training model that's been in place for 2 years now. We keep caseloads low. We've got additional positions. When they're filled, the work is very doable because you've given us the positions, they're there. It's keeping people in them. And so now when I'm doing exit interviews, I am hearing, well, I can drive right to Richmond County, and bam, an extra $10,000 a year. Or I can drive over to Robinson County. They're giving hiring bonuses. So I do begin to hear that. There's always room for improvement in every agency and in every unit, but I am beginning to hear it's also the salary.
Well, if you count the training $70,000 and the $103,000 paid for the private contractors, and the $40,000 in temporary contract staff for this year, and the big if is if that stops it from happening, it's paid for itself. Actually, probably saved you a little money, but the question is that going to stop it?
Right. Well, and I want you all to know I would never come up here and ask just to ask. I have 120 people in my agency. I'm asking for 20 because that's where my need is. My turnover rate in my other areas are not like this. So I don't need to come and say we're not competitive. We are in those other areas. It's just I believe other agencies have the same problem and they've targeted that problem in the social work area, just like I'm asking for. And so I think that's why the rest of our staff have stayed competitive because they haven't raised those staff salaries. They didn't need to.
You're talking about other agencies in other counties?
Yes,
Yeah.
other departments of social services.
Any other questions or comments?
I will start with, I still have the concern that I shared at our last meeting. There are other issues, I'm sure, than money. And I think it is important for those are issues to be addressed because you can give more money, hire more people, and if those other issues are not handled, then you still run back into the same situation that you're in. And probably because I did make that as a statement at the last meeting, I've been bombarded with emails and phone calls of even particularly people who have left DSS saying that is not the only issue. There are more issues. And so I just want to encourage you as our director to dig deep to find out what those issues are. I don't know who does the exit interviews, but it may even be beneficial to have some other people do it because they may not be as comfortable to share with you why they're leaving. But I do know that, and I have to be an advocate for our community, that there are more issues than just money. My other concern, while I'm not negating that we need to raise it, as I was just telling Commissioner McFadden, I think about the sheriff's department came and said more money, and we did it, and we should have. I agree with it wholeheartedly. If we vote tonight, I'm going to agree with it because I think we need to do it. But then what do we say when the next department comes and says the same issue exists? When do we say no? Is my concern. I think we've got to be careful because right now, and I've said this to other people, I said the way it is, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. If your director won't come and advocate for you, then you're going to be in trouble. But if you've got a boss that'll come talk, then you'll probably get the money. So, I mean, I think as commissioners, we've got to be careful of that. You all been here longer, so you may tell me that won't be a problem. But and I'm not saying you just came because of that, but
Right.
You're not the only department that has these issues of your salaries not being competitive. And then I know we're going to discuss the salary study in a moment. So I just, those are probably my two main concerns. I think there are other issues in that department that need to be dealt with. And I just want to be careful to keep throwing money.
Well, that's why I made that comment, if that fixed the problem. But, I don't know that we're ready to vote on that tonight. I don't think so. But I maybe would ask that if they could come up with a solid number, if it was 10 or 10.5%, which is roughly what it would take to get in the medium. What's the true cost of that going to be? And then we meet again, the 22nd or something, we can talk about it again. So
It's neat. The pay down on the compensatory time, that is something we specifically asked you to do.
Right.
And we had a conversation about lap salary and a kind of an explanation from the county manager as to maybe how lap salary worked. And have we made a decision to go ahead and pay that out yet?
Not yet, but I've actually got a talking point in my message, in my part, with a recommendation.
I thought we approved that, maybe not.
Okay, because I think from my standpoint, that was one of the interests that I had, is for us to go ahead and do that. So we won't go ahead and do that right now. We'll wait for you to bring that up when we get to that point on your presentation. Absent a motion, I think we will move forward at this point. Just to not so much for Ms. Snead's benefit, because she's been a part of all of our discussions, but maybe for the public at large. We voted a year ago to have a salary study where we would look at the staff of all of the employees of Scotland County over a 3-year period and try to make the adjustments necessary for our where they stood on the grade and pay scale for the county, and to make those decisions. And we got a report from them 2 weeks ago, and we will probably take up next and tonight what their first recommendations were to us. And I think I'm correct in that maybe DSS was not a part of that study, but will be a part of the one for the next year.
No, we will not.
2 years, okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I know we're wrapping up on this conversation, but I just want to make one comment that sort of supports that retention of social workers and child welfare is a statewide problem. Just last week, we were in Brunswick County, but we were in Leland, which is just a little tiny town, but they can't, in Brunswick County, they lose all their social workers to Wilmington or to South Carolina. They train them and then they're gone. So I think that whenever you've got a small county that is mostly rural, but it butts up to one of our big urban populations, that is probably a big problem in the Raleigh area, Greensboro, Asheville, all across the state. So that's just to support that
I don't think this is isolated to Scotland County.
Ms. Need, how many vacancies do you said you got 20 social worker positions. How many vacancies do you have?
In child welfare, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 right now, and I'm waiting on 3.
You're waiting on.
I'm waiting on 3 resignations that are gonna happen
So and
next week.
you're using the contracts to fill that now.
Mhm.
So that's $1,000 a week for 4 employees at $35 an hour.
Mhm.
If that puts that number on it. I mean, I'd like to see the total number before we.
I got another question. How does a contract agency find qualified people?
So
I mean, are there
they,
qualified people?
some of them, like one coming this week, he worked for Scotland County. One coming this week worked for Scotland County a few years ago. We know him. And so they're either, it's interesting where they find these people because they're trained. Their training is still current within 3 years, the required training. And so they're either people that like to move a lot, or other agencies have released them from employment. So because some of the names we know, and some of them we say, no, they can't come back here because we know them.
Mhm.
And so I would not say that the social worker for the contract company is making any more money, but we have to pay, of course, the administrative expenses to the contract company to provide us the service. So
Have you ever had an instance where a contract worker became a permanent?
we have.
Have you?
We do. And in that case, you have to buy them out of the contract after so long. But we've had 1 or 2 like that over the years.
If, Mr. Chairman, if it means anything, exit interviews normally reveal 3 things when people leave. Number 1, because of workplace environment. The exit interviews reveal number 2 is benefits. And then number 3 is always pay. So when people are leaving, if it's a large company, not a small company, but such as we have here, you normally would have the 3 issues. So, and we know the environment that these people work in.
Right.
It's one of the most stressful.
It's not a desk job.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah, so that's, but money does help. Money does help.
Is any
At
other
least you can hire.
questions of Ms. Need at this point?
They'll leave if you can hire, if you pay them.
Who would we ask to get that number together for, just between her and Susan or you or somebody? So if you can get us a true number, what if we?
so you want you want a price it would cost you for,
Well, I'm saying 10 and a half, but
Okay.
maybe you do a range of,
Okay.
whatever. But
Yeah,
Yep.
depending on where they are on the scale and
Right.
what the percentage is going to affect the amount of dollars per position.
right. Well, and we can look at the cost of the salaries by 10.5 and there you
yeah,
go.
or, maybe do
The
a
current
range
cost.
and-
Is there a sense of the board to move forward with the paying down the compensatory time?
I'm fine with it. I thought we approved it last time.
That's going to be
That's
my
what it sounds like.
recommendation.
We'll do that under yours.
Huh?
Release.
That's
Thank you
what
very
I
much.
thought.
Thank you.
I may be wrong, but Mr. Graham's here now, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Ron Graham's here.
Mr. Graham, how are you, sir? Just before we began tonight, somebody handed me something to tell me that the Parks and Recreation Department was recognized at the the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, probably back in August, of an award that they received. Would you step to the podium, please, and tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, and thank you. And I apologize for being a few minutes behind. Our park renovation plan, which I spoke of a couple weeks ago at our retreat, in the second year, we renovated Hammond Park, and through the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, we actually applied for an innovation award for that project. Hammond Park is transformed into kind of a health complex, a health park. one of our big things with our park renovation plan was to diversify the parks that we have here in the county, not to make every one of them cookie cutter. So, out at Hammond Park, we have a lot of exercise equipment for adults, children, a great partnership with the Scotland Memorial Foundation, the school system. The city helped out with that project. There's so many different working parts for that year 2 for Hammond Park, the renovation. And, we're thankful to be recognized on a statewide level. But more importantly, just to be able to serve the citizens here in Scotland County to upgrade not only Hammond Park, but, the other parks within our park renovation plan and provide this benefit, is a huge success for Parks and Recreation and the citizens here in the county.
I wanted you to talk a little bit more slowly so that our county manager.
Oh, okay.
can pull up some of these.
Well, I can keep going.
No, I don't want to let you go on all night.
All right. But, in a monetary form, you guys allocated around $40,000 in year 2 of our park renovation plan. We had a lot of matching dollars in total.
Brian, let me stop you if I may.
Okay.
For those of you who are here, Parks and Recreation has done an excellent job. They have taken the little bits of money that we may have given them. They've applied for grants and gotten additional monies that they have been able to do some really great things for our parks. And what you're going to see, and we're not going to take a long time doing this, but I do want to take a few minutes to let Brian talk about some of the what he's done with the parks and the amount of money that he may have had and what he's added to it to do what he's done in the last 2 or 3 years. And again, Brian, we're not gonna take a long time, but
Right.
I'd like for you to take a little, I think it's a great presentation. I think the public needs to see it more than just the commissioners.
Yeah, so this is one of the fitness pieces out at Hammond Park. This is a youth fitness setup. And you'll kind of see behind it in the back left-hand corner is a new facility for restrooms and different meetings, different community events that can be held back there as well. Again, Hammond Park started out with a $40,000 budget and ended up around a $200,000 project, and the bulk of those funds came from different grants. Again, the Scotland Memorial Foundation committed, Smithfield Foods committed money to it. So, and you can go to the next slide. There's an awesome piece. Everyone here doesn't have money in the county to be able to go to Planet Fitness and these different places to exercise. This is a great piece. It's wheelchair accessible. It's body weight resistant. So there's so many people that utilize this service as well. You can kind of see behind it, there's some light poles out there. We upgraded the lighting with LED lighting, making the park a lot safer, even at night. So again, a huge benefit, just one way that we diversified our parks in year 2. Now, the first year was a renovation out at Washington Park. And we have a picture on there. Washington Park started out with a $40,000 budget as well. It ended up turning out to be around $100,000 improvement. We had an Eagle Scout to come out. Our buildings and maintenance guys, helped out with this parking lot. So, again, to date, we have about $120,000 that you guys have allocated towards this park renovation plan with approximately $400,000 in upgrades. And a lot of that's due to grants. I told you guys before year 1 that we were going to work hard to really maximize, on the monies that you give Parks and Recreation to upgrade these parks. So, we're going into year 4 and year 5 after that. We always appreciate your support, and it's good, to get recognized on a state level. This award comes with $1,000. $1,000 that goes back into our Recreation Foundation as well. So, again, we just kind of keep multiplying. In this process, one of our staff is a certified playground safety inspector now. So we have that benefit on our staff that when you go out to the parks, not only are they going to look good, they're going to be safe as well.
Well, I've been at the association meetings in August when they make these awards to different groups within the counties. I assume that you probably were not there to receive this award from them that time. I would like to present this to you. This is from the Local Government Federal Credit Union, part of the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, recognizes Scotland County for the development and implementation of the fitness and Hammond Park. Congratulations. Any other commissioner like to make a comment to Mr. Graham? Hearing none, we will move forward. Thank you. Next on the agenda had to do with the salary study. Mr. Patterson?
With that, we talked about the salary study at the work session last month. With that, there were two items that were requesting for the implementation of the salary study for the first phase. Would need action from the board on two items. First, it would be to actually approve the new grade assignments for those positions studied. The annual cost on that position is $306,000. The actual cost to implement this in the remainder of this fiscal year is $114,000. That amount was budgeted. We projected, the reason it was budgeted, we projected implementation as of January 16th for a 10% increase. The actual study averaged out to be a 9.7% increase. So that amount was put into the budget for the current year. So it was already allocated for. The other item, and this is a little bit more technical. Right now, our salary range for each position is 41% spread from the bottom of the range to the top of the range. This recommendation is to increase that to a 55% spread between the bottom and the top of the range. That does not have any immediate potential cost. That just increases potential inside of the positions.
And these positions are obviously not under the umbrella of state office personnel.
Correct.
They're all county positions.
Correct.
Okay.
We heard an extensive presentation of this a couple of weeks ago. What is the pleasure of the board?
I move for approval. Kevin's already put it in the budget for this year.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the recommendations made by the folks that we've hired, the MAPS people, MAPS group. And do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. A motion by Commissioner Golston, second by Commissioner Alford. Any discussion?
I have a question. I want to make sure I understand the annualized cost is 306.
Mhm.
You said that 114 is in the budget.
For the remainder of this fiscal year.
Gotcha.
Because there would have to be 306
In next year's
in next
budget.
year's budget.
Yes,
Mhm.
But now this does not include DSS,
correct.
Health Department. What else?
Public safety.
I don't mean this is how it's going to sound. It include that. I don't remember. There were about, maybe 35% of the staff that was included in the study that they presented to us on the 22nd.
Also, the increase we gave the sheriff department this year,
Yes, sir.
would it be double dipping? They'll get double now.
They're not,
They're not in that.
They're not in this
That's when you
number.
said public safety.
they're in
Yeah.
public safety.
Okay, all right.
Kevin, how does this account for salary progression and a policy there of folk moving forward?
We still have a annualized progression policy. Right now, we're looking at basically a one step increase every other year. But with that, we're going to, during the budget process, we want to have a conversation with the policy committee about amending that also, going to an annualized progression, streamlining it, but also getting it so that you can see a consistent step on your anniversary. So that, the way we look at it is 80% to 90% of your 80% of your employees, You want to be there and to do a great job and to do a good job. You know, your star performers are limited, but if you only want star performers, you're going to be, you need to pay star performer salaries, and we don't. You know, so, but basically the goal of it is those people who get there and actually do the job day in and day out, they need to be rewarded too. So that's one of the recommendations that we're going to be, that's one of several recommendations that we're going to be discussing in this upcoming budget.
At our next meeting.
Any other questions, comments from board members? We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you very much. COVID-19 update. Dr. Caldwell, welcome.
Good evening. I don't have a whole lot about COVID today. But before I get into COVID, you know, there's a saying that says, if you don't live in the house, you don't really know what goes in there. Only those who truly live in the house knows what goes in there. I brought some of my staff today to share some of their experiences in the health department. I think I've spent the past 1 year trying to fix things, but I feel like I think it's going to be beneficial to the Board of Commissioners to hear directly from my staff. And I do apologize. Just give us a little time. We'll get this as quickly as possible.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Ashley Locklear, and I'm the physician assistant over at the health department. I've been asked to be one of the spokespersons here this evening to discuss some of the employee concerns and grievances that have come up in the last several months. I want to start by thanking you all for everything that you do here. You guys in your positions here shape the future for Scotland County, and we appreciate the steps that you take. I started working at the health department in September of 2018, and I've enjoyed my time here. I enjoy the work environment and my coworkers sharing my vision to provide quality health care to the underserved. Public health is often overlooked, and it is a job that really serves the population. And so you have to really want to work in public health to enjoy that. The reason we were asked to present here is because there's a lot of, I guess, employee morale is down in our work environment. And when there's unrest in the workplace, it can affect our job performance and, again, the work environment. Some of the issues that have been discussed involve, of course, employee salaries, but definitely benefits and COVID relief pay. While we have been informed that salary studies will be evaluated over the next several years, we just felt like maybe we should come in and just let you guys know how we really feel. In comparison to other North Carolina counties with similar population size as Scotland County, you have differences in salaries that can range up to $5,000+. And that can be in positions like nursing staff, social work positions, as well as environmental health positions. The information that Ms. Sharon Alford presented to me, I guess it comes from the UNC School of Government, a salary report for the North Carolina counties, and that report came out in 2021. And $5,000 can definitely be substantial for a lot of your employees. Another concern is that several supervisors at the health department often mention that they feel like their positions are training positions. That means that the staff comes in, you put all this money to train this person for this position, and then within a year, maybe sometimes more than that, they're gone. And they're leaving, of course, to go to surrounding counties where the pay is just much more. That salary study that I looked at particularly was looking at environmental health position. Some of the surrounding counties can pay as much as $10,000 for that environmental health position. And, that's definitely something that is required for our community, with inspecting restaurants and other facilities. Since I've been at the health department, not only losing staff to retirement, but there's been 2 other environmental health specialists that have left for other areas in North Carolina. In many areas of the nation, there's definitely shortages in medical staff and medical employees. The nursing situation, it would be considered maybe a crisis in some areas, and that's mostly due to the COVID pandemic. You see nurses that are leaving their full-time position and going again to these contract companies that, we're having to utilize to fill positions, and they're making 3 to 4 times the salary, but they're going right back to the position they left from with that contract company. And that's a lot of money that you're having to pay this contract person to do a job that you had filled, but they weren't satisfied with the salary, so they found means elsewhere. Before I came to the health department in 2018, just speaking to my coworkers, there were several provider turnovers during that time after the previous long-term provider left from there in 2016. And locums were used to fill that position as well. A locum can make $70 to $120 an hour, and then you have to pay for room and board. You're saying that's almost $40 to $50 more per hour than your providers are making currently. There's definitely some benefit working in the underserved area. The health department, when in 2018 applied to be under the National Loan Repayment Program, and that's a benefit for your providers to be able to get their student loans paid for. But what's the benefit once that service time ends? If you can't keep them here after 2-3 years, they're walking out the door. Some of the other staff turnovers that I've noticed is definitely our nursing staff. I feel like we have probably 2 or 3 positions right now that are not filled. In the 3.5 years I've been there, we've lost 5 nurses, and that's not to retirement. And most of them, it's increased salary and benefits. That the reason they found other employment. When you have open positions anywhere in any facility, that puts added strain on your remaining employees, because that's more that they have to take over, and then when they already are getting paid less than what they feel like they deserve, that's just a constant turnover. While salaries is definitely a benefit that weighs a lot on a employee for retention, I would say a lot of employees would be willing to take a pay cut if they had better benefits. Most of my coworkers complain about their medical expenses when they have to go seek medical care. The current high deductible plan puts a lot of financial strain on your employees. Anyone that has a major medical event can likely go broke trying to pay medical expenses under our current plan. I'm also embarrassed to say, as a provider, that sometimes I can't even afford medications for my own children. Even with the health savings benefit, the out-of-pocket cost for an employee to cover is just, it's too much. The medical industry is very expensive. Every year we realize the insurance plans definitely go up. But can't we offer options for an insurance plan instead of just one high deductible plan? Maybe a single employee would they see benefit in this high deductible plan. They may not have to utilize that very often, but someone with a family or with several chronic medical problems that actually has to go to the doctor multiple times a year, that's a lot coming out of their pocket. There's 4 people on my plan, and when you have to meet that $2,800 deductible, that's quite a bit of money, that I would have to, if I needed to utilize that. I would suggest also that medications and maybe copays are not subject to that deductible, because when you have to go to the doctor, you pay for the office visit, then you have to pay full price for the medications, and then every month we're still paying the insurance fee for a family or spouse. The employee is definitely free, but that's still, I feel like, quite a bit of money coming out of the pocket. The health insurance also, for folks that have come on later, doesn't cover you into retirement. And I think that would definitely be a benefit in retaining employees, is if the insurance options could cover you, that would allow folks to want to stay here and retire. Even another benefit I don't see much benefit in is the short-term disability. It offers 70% of the employee's income, but it caps out at $2,000. So when you have some higher salary employees, that $2,000 isn't even 50%, 30% maybe of their salary. So if you have someone that has to be out of work for a major medical problem, even females with maternity care, how are they going to be out 6 to 8 weeks and they're only drawing a portion of their salary? I think, offering maybe an alternative to that would be, yes, the 60 to 70% of the income, but not a max limit. And also maybe offering that the employee could utilize their sick leave to compensate for the remainder of that salary. As I said, employees are willing to take a pay cut if there's a better benefit package. But when you have lower salaries and a poor benefit package, there isn't really a whole lot that you're offering your employees to stay. I enjoy working at the health department. This job allows for a flexible schedule that fits my lifestyle with my family and my needs. But longevity, I honestly can't say that in the next 3 to 5 years I could stay here financially, unfortunately. Knowing even though that I would have to go to another agency and work longer hours, harder work, higher salary and better benefits would be the reason for me to have to resign as well. Another factor that I feel like speaks volumes is employee recognition and staff appreciation. Generally when there is an event going on, we'd have to take it upon ourselves as employees to ask for donations from staff to provide recognition. For example, Social Work Month is the month of March, and we hope to have plans to recognize our staff at the health department. But this is the first year that I've been there that there's been money set aside to assist with that. Previously, it's all come out of our employees' pocket. Public health nurses, frontline workers have definitely been in the forefront of the COVID pandemic. And it was a little disappointing to hear at some of the previous meetings that there's been COVID heroes recognized and nobody from public health has been recognized. There was a lot done even here, with the vaccine clinics, even the surrounding areas on the weekends and after work hours, employees taking out of their time to go participate in those events. Those things were coordinated by health department staff. And it's been a little disappointing that no one was recognized from our department. The CD nurse and the COVID nurse having to get all that information, document all that, provide numbers and percentage and graphs, that's a lot of time. And the calls that the front office staff has to deal with, hundreds and hundreds of calls every day, and some folks aren't that nice. How the public is, not everybody is respectful. And that takes a toll, and that affects your work environment when you don't want to come to work because you're going to get constant dirt, nasty calls all day. These are just several issues that have come up. We had a roundtable discussion, and these were things that it's just not myself. It's several employees there. And I know it's not just the health department. We're represented here by the health department, but I'm sure it's a lot of county employees that feel like there's an improvement all around for several things. So I hope that I've provided you maybe with a little insight coming from an employee standpoint, and that maybe you can open your minds and help us come up with opportunities that would improve our work environment and offer solutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I think as of today, I'm going to be recommending I feel much more, whole lot better, and comfortable confidence in our data, that we have come a long way to lift the MICE mandate. I think it's appropriate time now to do so. We have a robust system that are put in place now. The health department has a tool to do so. the community has the tools to do so, and the health system has the tool to do so. So I feel much more confident and comfortable to lift the mask mandate now. And before I I can take my seat, I just want to say, first of all, I want to appreciate my staff at the health department for the work they have done. It's pretty much amazing to work with them. I also want to say thank you, commissioners and the Board of Health, for the opportunity you gave me to be here. But I have submitted my resignation letter. I'll be stepping down as your health director. I thank you so much for everything. I came here with a purpose. I think my staff are now well trained to be able to deal with COVID should in case it re-emerge again. Thank you.
Just stay with us just a second. Does anybody have any questions of Dr. Caldwell?
How is COVID in Scotland County?
We are looking at the positivity rate. So right now we are below 10. We are around 5%, which kind of put us in a moderate category. So we have a moderate, substantial, and low. And the number of tests that are coming by positive seems to be much more lower compared to the previous past, or even the past 1 month or so. And also, I think we have done a good job with getting the vaccines in people's arm. We get a good percent of the populations are now fully vaccinated. So I think I'm much more confident in the system now that we are better off.
Dr. Caldwell, what is your recommendation for our countywide mask mandate?
I think it should be lifted now. The mask mandate should be lifted now. And one of the things I think I have said is it's not to make COVID a scary thing anymore. I think I would like to see people trying to figure out how to live with the virus. Because the understanding from multiple studies, even from our own personal experience, dealing with communicable diseases, this virus is going to stay with us for quite a long time. So I think it's going to be crucially important for us to learn how to live with it. I'm not saying it's going to be endemic, but I'm treating it now as endemic disease.
Did you ever find out about the center out at the Legion?
I guess I did. And I first of all want to thank our partners who came at that center to be able to provide the vaccines. In January, they were doing 300 to 400 tests per day. That is a huge number. I mean, they left their family and they came here to do everything to help this county. And I just want to say thank you to them. But I think we have spent close to a little bit over $10,000 operating the site. And none of that money comes from the county budget, zero. We have a COVID money, that's what we use for that. So the county has spent $0 behind that site. And one of the things we did was, because most often some of the things that we have done here is to look at global surveillance system. When the Omicron started in South Africa, I told the county manager that we have to be prepared because it's going to be significant. It's going to affect us, and they approved. We decided to have a mass testing site, and we went to the state. The state approved that, and they gave us the vendors to kind of do the job. So most of the money is being paid by the state. But I think from deep down my heart, I want to appreciate those staff over there. The benefits was much more abundant than the cost. So I think they kind of benefited from that much, much more better. And I'm going to have them there up to May, because since we lifted the mask mandate, I need to see if there's going to be a surge. And if that happens, then the county has the opportunity to continue with the testing. So that's going to be there until May.
That was my next question. How long do you plan on?
Yeah, I plan for it to be there until May. It's not an experiment thing, but it's more about observation, trying to observe it and see. We are better prepared for it.
I like the idea that if I get in contact with someone with the virus, that I instantly can go get in line and get checked. So it was a great investment in monies for the staff to be out there testing people for COVID. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So I think, it's a comfortable feeling knowing that you can, if you have symptoms or you think you have symptoms, you can go somewhere and get in line and be tested. And I'm glad that they are there.
Yeah, I'm not a psychologist, but psychologically, it's a human behavior. When people know things are there, they become much more confident and comfortable. So knowing that the testing site is there was much more better, 100 times better than knowing that the testing site is not there. So psychologically, that can have a significant impact on yourself.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why we decided to do so.
Mr. Gibson.
Before we vote on the mask mandate, I want to say thank you to the young lady who spoke on behalf of the health department. Thank you. And I do hope that our board would take into consideration what she shared, because those issues are real as they are in other departments. As a commissioner's representative on the Board of Health, I am saddened that we're losing you. Having to get to know you during this year has been a tremendous blessing. Your passion for our county has been amazing. You are such a smart young man, and losing you is certainly a loss for our county. And I want to say thank you. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I know that you have had to fight some old age issues trying to lead our health department. And I understand some of the struggles that you had to deal with just trying to do what was right for oftentimes the least of those among us. And I want you to know, I don't care where life takes you, that we appreciate you in Scotland County. Hate to see you go, but I understand that there comes a time you got to dust the feet off you and keep on going. So just know that we appreciate you and we thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And I'd like to echo that, Dr. Caldwell. We appreciate all you've done, particularly during a terrible time for our county and for this country. We appreciate it. As I understand it, your last day will be
April 12th. April 12th. Yeah.
But we appreciate all that you've done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Any other comments to Dr. Caldwell? Commissioner Ivey, is there a motion you might like to make?
Hell, I'm being set up for something here.
No, I don't mean to do that. I will apologize. I take that back.
What are we talking? Oh, you're talking about the mask. Absolutely. I'll make the motion that would counter remove the mask mandate requirement.
It would be, I think it would not be appropriate.
I'm with
for
you
anybody
now.
else
I
to make
wasn't
a
with you
motion.
when you first did that.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
John second.
He's second.
John Alford second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Thank you very much, Commissioner Ivey. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dr. Caldwell.
What's he doing?
Alice Johnson project.
All right.
I know there's sometimes people come for a specific part of the program and sometimes they feel awkward getting up and leaving. We have other stuff we're going to do. You are welcome to be with us. We want you to be with us, but we don't want you to feel like you have to. Please feel free to exit whenever you choose to.
With the Johnson project, the deed has been recorded. Actually, I'm out with our facility manager and inspections tomorrow. I think they're meeting with an engineer on the facility at Johnson tomorrow morning. Brian, if you can be at Johnson at 8:30 in the morning or have somebody there. But they're meeting with the engineer. Meeting with a potential engineer, looking at what will be phase one of the Johnson project. Primarily looking at the roofing or the areas that need to be re-roofed, which are the gym and plus one extra area. Looking at new bathrooms in the gym, the flooring, the playing floor in the gym, HVAC, painting, and then also the creation of a reception area, which would be kind of a small office area for Parks and Recreation. It would not be at the doors that go right there at the gym, but the ones next to it that would enter. That would be the secondary entrance to Johnson. That gives the place to put a good reception desk and then access to the gym as well as a bathroom that's handicap accessible. But we're working on that. We currently have 2 quotes on the roof. Mike McGirt is going to try to get a third quote and just verify that the two quotes he has are still good. Once that's complete, we will start on that fairly quickly. We will use an engineer for the bathrooms. We will need that. We will need that expertise. And some small design, but once that's done, the rest of that should happen fairly quickly.
Do you have any cost figures with any of those little bullets?
I have them, but I've not prepared those
Okay.
for tonight.
Okay.
But with that, we have gotten back the signed the grants, the SCIF grants. One of them was a $500,000 appropriation for ILS Johnson. I've gotten all of those grants, and that's in my report later. But we believe the $500,000 would cover this phase of the project, or approximately this phase of the project. So those funds will be applied first.
Who, the literacy council got some, right? Who else got some of those funds?
Well, the ones that we got, and I've got those projects listed on, the ones that are flowing through us were for Johnson, Laurel Hill, an infrastructure grant, which actually we're using for the water system. And then we actually got a $100,000 grant for the Fair Lakes Dam. But the goal is to start working on this project as quickly as possible.
Any questions of Mr. Patterson? Comments from the board? Hearing none, we'll move along. Laurel Hill.
Laurel Hill, the building should be delivered this week. It's expected to be delivered on the 10th. And with that, the contractor expects to be completed with the outside of the building by the end of May. So after that, everybody will be asking you what's going on because they don't ever see anything.
Yes.
Because people will be working inside, which winds up being the slow part of the process once you get the building on site. But we have been, in our monthly meetings, we are looking at relocating the pickleball court on the layout, which would be up near the current parking lot area, and talking with that subcontractor. They're thinking about getting that pickleball court done probably in the month of May, June timeframe. So potentially the pickleball court would be open before the end of June.
When does Laurel Hill have their festival? When are they gonna have it this year? You hear anything
Know when
about
Spring
it?
I
Fest
think
is?
it's in May.
Third week in May.
Yeah.
They
I
gonna
think it's
have
in
it this
May.
year.
Oh, yeah.
I love that festival. That's great. That is really great.
And it's still hoping to open October. That's still the
Yes.
target.
Yes. Yeah, I believe the contract date is the middle of October. And the contractor is still saying he is on schedule for the contract date.
Any questions, comments? Hearing none. Boards and committee appointments.
The Board of Equalization, we still didn't, and review, we still didn't receive any more application, and we have 2 positions which we have to fill at our next monthly meeting. So I hope that we will get some more application.
So we can wait until April to fill those positions.
Yes. So that's what I'm recommending.
So we still have 2 more, you said, on equalization?
No, I think it's a total of 2.
Total of 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we just have 1 application.
Okay.
Okay. County manager's report.
Okay, with this, I did have one thing I did not put in the packet. It was an oversight. I'll have that at the end. But it's not bad news. So the first item, again, also not bad news. We did go through the selection process for a tax assessor, tax administrator. We did invite two of the commissioners to sit in on the selection process. We actually had one internal candidate that was selected to be the tax assessor. She would be brought in as the acting tax assessor. She has to complete a course that is offered by Department of Revenue, but they only offer it annually. But with that, we have extended the offer. She has accepted, but it is contingent upon the board extending the contract to her. The board appoints a 2 or 4 year contract to the tax assessor. Our previous assessor was given a 2-year contract in January. So we had asked that the board appoint Mickey Butler to the unexpired term for tax assessor, which would go through January of 2024.
And you said there were 2 commissioners on that.
There were 2 commissioners who served on the interview selection and interview panel.
Any comment by either of those 2 commissioners?
I was involved in the interview process. I think she's very qualified. She has experience. She has the licensing credentials, all except this one course. And so that it's very little that she has to complete to be a fully credentialed tax assessor. So I am comfortable making a recommendation that she be appointed. Tim.
I would say the same thing. Yeah. There's nothing different to add. So you made the motion?
I'll make the motion that
Oh,
we
okay.
appoint
I'll second.
Mickey Butler to fill the unexpired term through January 2024.
We have a motion, and a
Second.
second by Commissioner Ivey. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Thank you very much. Next, sir.
Okay. The next item, we did mention that we were going out to bid for our audit. We did receive 2 bids in, Thompson Price, Scott Adams, and S. Preston Douglas both bid on it. With this, Thompson Price does have a number of county audits as our process. Preston Douglas has a number of municipal audits as well as at least one school district, but they do not have a county. But they do not have a county. Counties have a significantly different audit than municipalities. Ours is significantly more complex. For that reason, a finance officer and I both recommend going with Thompson Price.
You need a motion for that?
Yes.
I so move.
A motion from Commissioner Goldston,
Second.
second by Commissioner Alford. Any questions, any conversation?
Now, are they going to assume everything that Roach did? I mean, like historic properties, tourism,
We're not
EDC?
doing that. There's not automatically a transition in those.
But are they going to continue doing them, or are we going to have?
Right now, Roach Head will still continue doing those for at least another year.
Was there any figures given as to what that cost would be?
Yes, the cost on for the audit under Thompson Price was right at 60,000. Preston Douglas was 52. Which is actually less than what we paid this year.
Okay.
Good. Here's some money.
Where are Thompson Price? Where are they located?
Whiteville, aren't they?
Whiteville, I read that. No, yeah.
Yeah, that's the closest office.
Yeah.
Where's Preston Douglas from?
Lumberton.
Lumberton.
And both of them are good firms. There's nothing said about, nothing negative about either firm. But again, Thompson Price has county work done. That's the difference.
Mhm.
You have a motion and a second?
We got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you.
Okay, again, just mentioning these, the grants that were received from the state, those grants were executed. We have received executed copies back last week. And actually, I need to verify, we were expecting to actually receive the funds. Well, by the end of this week, we will have the fund, we expect to have the funds in hand.
I give it to y'all at one time.
Yes. With this, as part of the process through this, the infrastructure grants, the SCIF grants are administered by OSBM, Office of State Budget Management. And on one of the preliminary webinars that they had, they said that basically they don't administer grants. This is the first time. So they're doing a lot of this, upfront. And they were on a deadline to get the funds out the door. So they're doing it this way. We will wind up reporting on it. I think it's going to be a fairly simplified reporting structure. Our first report is due April 15th. Laurel Hill Community Center, we will have the construction actually as the steel comes in this week. That means the invoice for this month will be significant. That will probably cover the $500,000 there. ILS Johnson, again, that will cover phase one, or should cover phase one, or a significant portion of it. The infrastructure grant for $550,000, allocating that into the water districts. I've gotten price estimates from the city of Laurinburg, help facilitate this. But to put generators on our 3 lift stations, that is about $210,000. After that, we are also looking at redesigning the connections for the fire suppression system for the water tower that we have out at the Wagram industrial site. Right now, it's still going through the water treatment plant. The goal is actually to sever it from the water treatment plant, just have direct piping up there, put a new small pump house in, and then have that so we can serve fire flow for Cascades, as well as fire flow for any future industrial development for that site. And that will come up, and that will help eliminate a number of issues that we're having with the infrastructure and the wastewater treatment plant, or the water treatment plant.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. If we had not gotten this 550,000 infrastructure grant, would we be doing this work on the water system
Yes.
anyway? I mean, it was something that was in our strategic plan to improve that whole system.
Yes, actually, we budgeted $300,000 this year to put in generators on the water plant. Or you budgeted $300,000, and we actually began last year working with engineers developing the strategy for that. So it was something we already had in a 24-month plan anyway. But this is going to allow us to retain those funds inside the water districts or allocate those to other projects.
So it was sort of like a gift.
But it's nothing that was not None of this
I'm
was
not
not in
questioning
the
the
plan.
need. I was just wondering how it was being budgeted if we had not received this 550.
We already had $300,000
Already had
budgeted.
three. Okay, so it
currently.
saves us 250. Okay.
Any other comments, questions?
Also with that, one of the positions that I talked about last month, at the work session was the facility manager position. Since we're looking at doing the ILS Johnson position, this is someone who can help with the renovation, help manage the contracts, and would be more on the physical plant side. And they can actually work with other building projects that we have going on now and in the future. If the board is interested in approving this position. This would still leave the community relation position that I would actually look to recommend or have as an option for the board in the budget beginning July.
Do you have a sense of how hard it will be to recruit this person for this position?
Looking for a skilled position, we'll either get very lucky and fill it in a week, or we'll be looking for this position for 3 months.
Okay.
When we lost our engineer, we never did have any time. And that was quite a while. That's when I first came on the board, I think. We're getting close to it. So I
Yeah,
say, I'm sure this person's not going to be an engineer, but certainly they would serve some of those purposes that engineers serve, I can imagine.
yeah. This would be somebody who can, as we have projects, work with engineers, but that also with smaller projects that we have constantly, they can work with Mike McGirt, because we always have contractors who are coming in and doing repairs in this facility, that facility. We always are bringing in plumbers for projects that we can't handle. But this would allow be a position where, we have somebody else who can develop on these more complicated building needs.
Are you looking for a PE?
No,
Okay.
no, this would not be an engineer, but somebody who had construction experience
All right.
would be beneficial.
Somebody who
Yeah, I
had been a
wish you
general
luck in
contractor.
finding
Yes.
Find somebody for that.
Yeah, basically, I'm looking for a GC, a general
Right,
contractor,
okay.
but not a PE,
Not
not
a
an
PE.
engineer.
That's why I asked you about the recruitment.
And that's up to the board.
Well, I'll make a motion that we go ahead and approve the creation of this position.
Second.
And
I'm sorry. did we have a
he
second?
seconds.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Gibbs. I did not see the motion. A second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yes, I have a question. To Kevin, we're talking about one position or two?
This
that
is
pos-
one position.
Is that position in the budget you're gonna present already?
This is not in the budget.
Wait, it's not.
Then,
I'm sorry.
then how could we approve it? And it's not we don't have the budget before us. This question to the board. How can we approve it? And
Where do you intend to fund this position
Uh,
from?
We'll go off, and right now we have, once we get this, we'll go back in, analyze exactly what we have in lap salary, because we do have turnover in that department, like a lot of our others, and see exactly where it is, and then bring in a budget amendment probably on the 22nd.
But wouldn't the lap salary be just stopgap measure? Once you get the person, it's gonna be annualized.
Yes.
That's my concern.
Mhm.
How do we do that? You're talking about another $120,000 benefits,
Total cost,
benefit, salary?
total annual cost on this would probably max out at 70.
Okay.
And so you would try to pay, you would pay that, which would not be the 70, but whatever's between now and July 1st, with lap salary, and then put it in the budget
For next year,
for next year.
yes.
And you can't put it in the budget unless we approve the position.
So he create all the standards for it.
So, yeah,
Somebody made a
we
motion.
wouldn't be
Carol.
happy if we didn't.
We have a motion and a second.
I just had a question.
You had a question. Any
Yeah,
further
I'm
discussion?
I'm clear. I'm good.
Hearing no other discussion, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Thank you very much. I was waiting for the motion to put this under Parks and Recreation and let Brian Graham do this.
No,
I kept waiting for somebody to do that.
we're gonna be working with him a lot on this project too.
Okay.
The other thing in this is looking at comp time, and I think you may have a little bit more of a breakdown in your packet. But with this, we looked at countywide for everyone who has comp time in excess of 40 hours. So this does not affect exempt employees. This does not have people who have 4 hours of comp time or something like that, because most of the time, if it's manageable, they're kept to this. But of the employees that have greater than 40 hours countywide, we have a total of 1,330 hours. To reduce that number down to zero, you're looking at $28,900. But actually, to reduce that down to 40 hours, which still gives time to potentially manage that out, would be $16,700. DSS is still $10,000 of that.
It's just countywide.
That number is countywide.
Okay.
Does that, I would assume that does not include the sheriff's department.
That includes the sheriff's department.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, that's right. The law enforcement officers and EMS get a very funky paid overtime.
That's what I thought. So
Yeah.
they're not included in this. Okay,
Right.
that's what I thought. It just, from this, 10,000 of this would be DSS. How much, where would this other 6 come from? Health department?
That is, do you recall, that goes into health, veteran services. He has some hours. But health department is probably your second largest, but they're not significant. They're not
Okay.
way up.
So, okay.
But the recommendation is that we look to change the county policy on this, that right now we pay out comp time over 240 hours, which is federal law. The recommendation is that you set the policy that we pay out comp time on a quarterly basis over 40 hours. Now, most of the time, that's still going to be, hey, I worked over 3 hours this week. I can take off a little bit next week. But you have those chronic cases where you have departments that are always understaffed. They can't take it off. But this would allow a mechanism where we can pay out these times.
Hey,
And
go ahead.
and the way it's when we discuss this, it's also a way of an added benefit for people that are earning comp time, because so many times they earn comp time, but if you're understaffed, you can't use your comp time. So at least this way, you're compensating them with money to say, yeah, you worked 50 hours last week, you get paid for 10. And hope that will improve retention, improve morale, just do whatever it can to tell staff that we're looking at ways to make the working environment more appealing.
I
Good.
believe this was recommended by April Sneed from DSS and also by the salary study personnel. They recommended that we take this step too, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, April's looking for a payout on comp time. And looking at a better structure he was for maps, and then also looking at how we can do it with finance and our existing payroll system until later on. We can do this, and that's why we came up with on a quarterly basis. And we could pay out these with the next payroll, but setting this up on a regular basis so we can review it.
You need action on that.
Yes.
I don't believe we've had a motion on this yet. Is there someone we?
Are you expecting or asking for a motion on both parts?
I am asking that the board set our comp time limit basically to 40 hours instead of 240 hours.
And on a quarterly basis, pay out.
Gotcha. But I thought you were asking about making this payment out for what has to be paid now.
If you set the comp time to a 40-hour limit,
It'll be 16.
we will pay out the 16.
So you're not asking for the 28?
No.
Okay.
No.
Gotcha.
That's just information.
Okay, I just want to be clear.
So you need a motion for that.
Yes.
We have a motion from Commissioner Goldston,
Second.
second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you.
Now, the next item, the board did ask about a bonus structure. And this is a very simplified structure that we can look at. I don't have amounts in here because I didn't want to put an amount that made you gasp. But with this, looking at a two-tier structure, where employees that are by their profession at a higher risk, public safety, health department clinical staff, the ones who are giving shots, your social workers that are actually going into people's homes. Those I would recommend being in one group or classification of employees, because the risk that they have had for COVID is a whole lot worse than what my risk has been. And then have all other employees as a lower risk. We currently have 146 employees that would be in that tier 1, and 213 that would be in tier 2. Just as an estimate, I put in a cost for $100 for both of these, just because $100 is real easy to do math with. So basically for a tier 1, all tier 1 to get $100 would be $19,200. All a tier 2 could be $27,600.
So if you made it $1,000, then it would be $192,000.
Correct.
Okay. Or 276.
Where are we getting this money from?
This can be used out of the recovery funds.
Wonderful.
The rescue.
And we're talking about this is a one-time.
This would,
And this, my knowledge of the way I see it, this is in response to the pandemic.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, it just says bonus structure. I think we need to say bonus COVID or COVID bonus structure so
Right.
that people can know that this is
That
relates
is,
to COVID.
And when you make your recommendation, is the amount you are considering for tier 1 going to be greater than the amount for tier 2?
I would assume tier 1 would be higher than tier 2. And some of that may be, and I would not specifically look for action on this tonight. I wanted to introduce the tier structure, but then have a more detailed conversation on this on the 22nd. And some of that is also what the board is more comfortable with. As far as is there a total amount that you I want to spend $10. I want to spend $200,000. You know, or is there a target for tier 1, tier 2 that you're interested in?
Mhm.
So we can think about it till.
I'm glad you give
Yes.
us a little time to think about it.
Yes. And if y'all could, if you have concepts, please let me know. We'll work out some numbers and some alternatives for you.
I'll serve.
All right.
So that's 146 and 213.
Okay, and this is the new item. We're talking, the state does have a lot of infrastructure money out there right now. One plan that at least I've been working on or talking about for a number of years now is looking at, we currently have a 7 million gallon a day per wastewater discharge permit for the Wagram industrial site wastewater treatment plant. It's phased down. But with that, a concept has been to divert an amount of the waste that's currently going to Sarah, Laurinburg Maxton Airport, diverting that to, and upgrading the current facility or putting in a new package plant, a sewer plant there. And that would allow for LMA to meet their capacity limits, but also that would create the opportunity for Campbell Soup to potentially send their wastewater to Laurinburg Maxton Airport, as well as potential the town of Maxton could abandon their wastewater plant and send it to LMA. What we're asking for now is the resolution that was at the table. And basically this is, we are going to apply for a grant to get a study done on this plant to see the feasibility on this project, as well as getting cost estimates in place. And basically, this resolution allows us to apply for a study grant, which if that comes in, we would use that study grant to apply for state grants for actual infrastructure improvement.
Is that not the one that Representative Pierce has already got approved for? Didn't I hear it wasn't, Sandy, didn't you say something about that this morning about the $50,000 grant that Representative Pierce had got for this? Okay. I got you. Okay. So it hadn't been done. Okay. I just took it that it had been done.
Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner McCall,
Second.
second by Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you very much.
That is all I have.
Commissioners, comments, concerns? Commissioner Gibson? No, sir.
Have none?
Mr. Ivy?
No.
Yes, I have, over the past month, I've received 2 complaints concerning our dump sites that some of our citizens will just throw their trash and whatever in the wrong one. But there's no signs up. And once you put something in one that shouldn't be in there, you can't get it out. Would it be worth us have signs that could be moved, that placed in front of each one so that people would know? The attendant there is telling them, but some of them will ignore the advice. But we don't have any signs up. So I went and, you have to ask, and it should be identified. Each one of the dumpsters there should have a nice big sign, large letters, pasteboard, glass, cans, and whatever.
Okay.
Which site are you talking about, John? Do you know which site you're talking about?
Yes, but I would assume it's happening at all, but I went,
No, I take all mine to 401s.
are there
401.
signs up?
Oh, yeah, you know
Okay, but
exactly
there's
where to
none,
put.
I didn't see any in the Wakeham site. There was,
We'll verify and make,
Okay.
yeah, there was
if they're
nothing there,
not, we'll get them
so
there.
I can,
401's fine.
yeah,
I
so,
just took trash there.
okay, so there's none in the Wakeham site.
Let's just check them all.
We'll,
Check them all, yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you, that's it.
Mr. Golson.
Well, I kind of want to ask this question, but I think I'm gonna leave it to the March 22nd, because I need to know what I'm saying. I mean, so no, I don't have anything. I'm gonna wait till March.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, would you come back to me real quick?
absolutely.
Just because he mentioned trash, I'm sure we all got the same phone call
Yeah.
from a particular citizen, just sharing their concern about trash. And I'm sure we all share that same concern because there's trash everywhere.
Mhm.
And I know that when this came up the last time, the only response that you were able to really give, Kevin, was we're waiting to see when we could get inmates to do it. But I just want to ask you, if you will, before March, consider some other options that we might be able to do. And I give you one. I know the city contracts with an individual company who does a lot of their trash pickup in the city limits. That may be an option. I mean, I hate for us to keep ourselves only available for inmates to do it when it's only a growing issue. I mean, trash is awful. I mean, it looks bad.
Is
Oh.
it too much for it to be a countywide cleanup day? That wouldn't solve the problem with it.
I think that's a good idea, and I think we do need to push that. But you and I know that you're going to be limited on who's going to really show up to help on a volunteer basis. I think it's important enough for us to put some money behind keeping our county clean.
And the chamber does have its annual
It's coming to an
green
April.
event, and it should be coming up soon. And the county participates on that as well. But if the board's interested, we can come up with some contracts and just figure out what a rate could be for that.
I had two or three things I wanted to comment on, and that is one of them. I've had 2 or 3 phone calls in the last couple of weeks. And I think obviously it's a concern. It's a terrible problem. I'd like for us to spend some time really thinking about what our options are and come up with some, if we have to spend some money, then we consider doing that. But I think there's some other things we need to do too, to try to encourage people we need to police ourselves in this, I think. And we've done I keep saying that we ought to do a better job of that. I don't know what it's going to take to do that, but I just think we've got to do something so that we take greater pride in our county, that we won't let that happen. My fear is when you start paying people to pick it up, it's going to say it's okay to throw it out there. Somebody's going to come behind you to pick it up. But I'm not opposed to doing that.
I agree with what you're saying
But
too.
we need to maybe look at this.
From a number of areas.
Let's look at it from
Fair though.
and we maybe just make it a real focus for the next 12 months, and we get out there ourselves and do it. So we help encourage other folks to get out there and do it too.
We're talking about a behavior, and changing behavior, money doesn't always work to change behavior.
But it's, and I think we also need to pursue the.
Right, I mean, you can use money.
And what day you say that if somebody was having a cleanup day?
Chambers is like April I'll find it for you.
There are groups that have gone out and done it
Oh, yeah.
on a monthly basis for several months.
There's civic groups.
Okay,
that do
let
it
me
monthly.
bring us back. I've got a couple of other things I wanted to comment on. All of you have received from me a result of the evaluation that we've currently done on our county manager. And what I would like to do is for us to establish a date. And we talked about having the evaluations done in January and February and try to conclude this by the end of March. So I wondered if there is a date that we can.
Why not that date?
You want to do it
Yeah,
on that
March
date?
22nd is
I mean, we're gonna be there, might as well.
What date?
We already have a date
After
planned
the-
for March 22nd. I know we've got some things planned for that date, but I do not think it will be as long as what we spent in
No.
February. can we add an extra period of time to go into closed session, to deal with that at the same time?
Fine with me.
Sounds good.
Everybody got that date on the calendar?
Yep.
And Commissioner McFadden, we always want you there, but we understand that sometimes it's harder for you than it may be for the rest of us. Let's plan to do that then on that date.
Okay.
And one other thing, and I don't want to, not trying to bring this for a vote, but I know at our last meeting, when we met in the middle of the month of February, we talked about, there was a presentation made about the possible purchase of an ambulance. And I don't think we took any action because we tried not to take any action that day. I think on the 22nd, let's consider if we're going to go forward with that. I would hate for us to wait 2 or 3 months to make that decision, as long as it's taking to obtain those ambulances. If we want to make that decision on March 22nd, let's go ahead and move forward with ordering that, because I think it's taken a considerable period of time for that to be done. So I just would like for us to put that on the agenda to make sure we take care of that at that time. Any other comments? If not, I will have a motion to recess until March 22nd at 10 o'clock.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Ivy, a second by Commissioner Gibson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Again, thank you to all of you who are with us tonight. Well, have a good night. Be safe.
Well,
I wonder what kind of person he's gonna get. Benefits and everything, $70,000. If you said you don't get much expertise.
We're gonna have, right now with the pay studies we've done, we're looking at basically a third of the county staff. We'll see some.
Okay.
changes.
No, I think
It's not
always